I'm recording. Can you all hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, excellent. Forgive me, but I'm losing track of time. So it's April 9th, Monday, April 9th. Welcome back. I just spent the weekend in Winnipeg, Manitoba for a really terrific Humans Being More that Jeff was facilitating. He put together a day and a half package, and sort of not even a day and a half, it was a day and a quarter. It was the full day till about 6 p.m. first day, and then about 3 hours on the second day. And the curriculum that he put together was absolutely fantastic. So if you're thinking about doing an HBM in the near future, and you're thinking about maybe a day plus a morning, so you can include the graduation in the morning, so that you can also include the life cycle plan, that would be a great one to do. I was really happy with the turnout. I was happy with the curriculum, and it covered all the bases. And then we did a business segment after lunch, which was a business presentation, an invitation for people to join the business, and more than half of the people stayed for that. So I think we're going to have a real positive result out of that particular event. So if you're thinking about hosting something special, something different, you might want to host. Now, we didn't call it, I don't think they're going to call it Humans Being More in the U.S. We could do that in Canada. And it has something to do with tax laws. Believe it or not, I did inquire about this, and it's some ridiculous scenario that you guys got going in your land of the free, where tax laws kick in and become a problem depending on what state you're doing this event in, because every state requires its own income tax submission. Anyway, it's a little complicated, and there's too many states to worry about. So I think they have a different name for it if you go that way. But I really do strongly recommend it. I think it's an excellent recruiting opportunity, and the content. I took it as well, by the way. I was in it myself. Here's my book. Got it right here. And it was really, really good. So I took some notes that I thought I would share with you with respect to some things that came up as I was thinking about it. And we'll get to that in a minute. Before we do, I just want to ask, is there anybody who has any questions about the upcoming event on the 21st, the mid-month event coming up, the lock-in event? Any questions about that?
Who are the speakers?
Ben is the point person for that. I don't know who's lined up. Myself and Bernadette will be engaged in the event in San Francisco. But it is focused on stories that pertain to the value of our business opportunity, which kind of leads into the question or the comments that I want to make tonight. A couple of things came up over the HBM. Any questions about that other than who's going to be the speakers? It is going to be at 12:30 Eastern, same as logging into this particular event. And let's see. So, Madeline, you just...
Yeah, I think Carol was on here. Yeah, I think she's in my right upper hand corner. She's new, and we just finished on ABC with her, and I just wanted to introduce her. Carol?
I don't see her, but oh wait, I see a black box
screen
that says Carol. So hello, black box Carol.
Carol, you can put your video on and say hello.
The invisible person.
Yes.
Welcome to our Aligning with Success call. Oh, for those of you who are just joining us for the first time or revisiting, this is called Aligning with Success. On this call, which is a weekly call, our goal is to focus attention on, first of all, what's important in terms of current events or current matters, to always keep in mind that this is about an alignment with an overall purpose, and the alignment to both the compensation plan, the incentives that NECAN's running, how we do things, and of course our purpose and our mission in NECAN. So if we can bring all those things into alignment, which is interesting, because my weekend this weekend was Humans Being More weekend, and the whole purpose of this weekend is about helping people who are out there in the real world, looking for answers, looking for a way to connect on a level that's deeper than what they're experiencing, and maybe find a sense of purpose. And so bring some alignment in their life. And I think it's a really valuable day and a half. If you can get one booked, go ahead and get that done. So what I had for you was the idea of income versus value. That was one of the things that came up. I also want to talk about posturing, and I want to talk about a thing that I was reminded of, the Ben Franklin close, which is one of the sections in our HBM. We didn't call it that, but I remember that that's what it is. So I'm going to touch on these points. Any other thoughts or comments before I move on? Okay. So there's some really, just an FYI too, there's some really, really amazing things being lined up for us this week. You should see the beginning of the changes that we've been promised. There's things that are moving in terms of the programming that you're going to be very, very excited about in terms of announcements as to how we are more streamlined in our business and how we can show people a return on investment sooner than what we have been in the habit of seeing. And that's going to be very, very exciting. So I can tell you this, patience. We've got, this year is a very, very big year for us in so many ways, and things are shaping up real nice. We had a great month this past month, and I know there's at least a couple of silvers that are breaking. I think Barb's got one, just joined us, and a few other people who are on this call. So one of the things that came up was income versus value. And this came up when we were talking about the relationship of how people identify with money, especially when they're thinking about looking at this business, or even maybe being critical of network marketing as a business vehicle. And how do we help them understand that the income that they're generating, if they're in the left quadrant, which is trading time for money, either as an employer or as a business owner, is in direct relation to the time that they're putting in. I'm not sure where that sound is coming from. So to help people understand that the paradigm that they've grown up with is to look at time and value time, and therefore their income is based on a relationship with time, and it's all they know. They don't know any different. But if they were in business for themselves, their income is based on profit. And so profit versus wage or income relative to time, or the indirect relationship to time, is what we're trying to help people understand. If you're in a business, your business will grow and will be viable if and only if it adds value to society. It will only be profitable to the degree that you're able to, number one, add value and manage, of course, your costs in doing so. Well, in our Nikken scenario, we're able to extend value in society through influence. What we each offer is an opportunity to influence a situation. We can influence how people think and view their health. We can influence how people behave in terms of their daily activities and the choices that they make. We're asking them to consciously choose things that lead them toward better health and better income through the concept of compounding and leverage. And in doing so, we're creating a company that has value. And by the way, if you haven't named your company, that's one of the very, very first things that we're going to just suggest people do in their getting started guide, is give your company a name. Often we relate to the Nikken, our business, as I have a Nikken business. I'm a Nikken wellness consultant. I am a diamond. I am a platinum. I am. And so we think of the business as us. And there's a paradigm that causes that is actually detrimental to our business. We don't see the business as having its own identity. We don't see the value of the business separate and apart from us. In fact, if you don't have a very strong level of confidence or conviction, you're going to be affecting the value of the business because it's prejudiced by your perception of your own value, how you see yourself. And so it's really important that we establish a name for our company so we can call it something and give it value and start to build its value. So first and foremost, name your business. Give it a name. It doesn't have to be registered as a corporation. Just give it a name so that you can see yourself as the president and CEO of that company, that business that you're in the throes of building and creating value through. You're the CEO, of course. You make the decisions on behalf of that company. And when you think of it that way, everything starts to look different from the decisions. For instance, going to an event, investing in tools, investing in your products. Suddenly those things are about an investment for your business sake. And then, of course, the goal is to make your business profitable, because a business needs to be profitable in order to be viable. So this detachment or separation of identity from us to our business is a very key component to the conversation I want to have right now, which is income versus value rather than income versus time. You see yourself as investing time. The business doesn't pay you for time. It pays you for the value that you add in society. And so one of the shifts that we make going from the left-hand side of the equation to the right-hand side of the equation of the Kiyosaki quadrants is the shift in understanding that it's not about the time you invest. It's about the value you add. So we need to now look at, how do I add value? How does my business add value? What makes my business valuable in terms of society? And when we look at society as a whole and the direction things are heading, where our health is concerned, where our finances are concerned, for the average person, you can quickly realize that people would greatly benefit if they could be neutral about, or at least semi-positive about, the idea of turning a new engine on that could give them added value, that could add more value to society and subsequently reward them financially with a better financial outcome. So the idea of adding value to generate income has you starting to ask different questions of your business. What is it that I need to do? What does my business need to do to become more valuable, to add more value? Now you can see why bringing on people who have credentials, bringing on people who have influence, bringing on people who have a sense of self-worth, etc. Now those things become even more important, because this is how we add value to our company. This is how we add value in society. And your income is going to be in proportion to that. Versus how much time I put in this day, how much time I put in this week. And a lot of people, and this has come up in, which has sort of prompted this question in the next thing I want to talk about, which is posturing. A lot of people will say to you, when you're out there talking to people, oh, I don't have any time. And I don't have any time to entertain anything new, to add anything new. So what are they really saying when they make that comment? Are they not saying that my time is only worth a certain amount, and I'm investing that time to generate that amount? And so if we were to question, what do they consider valuable of their time? What do they consider their time worth? Then we already have an answer to that question, right? Because they're already investing their time to earn a wage. So we already know what they're willing to do where their time is concerned. And it's really important to get people to actually start to think about that, because the challenge that we're having, I find, is helping people understand how they're selling themselves short because they do not understand the value of their time. They're only understanding time in proportion, or their income in proportion to time, and vice versa. If we could make the shift, we could help them make the shift to understand that there's a way they can add more value through their influence. And that influence can extend beyond their reach, beyond their time. They can set in motion something that can go beyond their time, beyond even their personal influence, and that can create value that will reward them financially. Now what you have is a business discussion, the relationship between adding value and creating income. And so how is it possible then in the right-hand side that a person can have 5 or 10 businesses? Clearly, it's not a function of time. It's they have found a way to add value with whatever little bit of time that they can invest in something. And so this is what we're trying to help people understand, is that income is not time. Time is not money. Money is in direct proportion to the value you add. And if the value you add is limited by your time, now you have limited your income. But if you can add value independent of time through this concept of influence, by leveraging a system, by leveraging a message, by leveraging the tools that we have both online, etc., then what you no longer have is a limitation to how much you can influence the situation, the value you can add, and subsequently the money. So I want you guys to see yourselves as influencers. And the goal is to attract people to help us influence the situation to a greater extent. The other thing that I want to talk about was, and I'll get to the posturing, but the Ben Franklin close. This was a real quick one. This was in our HBM this weekend. And on the left-hand side, we identified our values, and we circled those things that were really, really important to us. And on the right-hand side was the values that we're moving away from, or fears. These are the things that really don't contribute much to what we want out of life. So, okay, and we were supposed to put a big X through that and not even entertain that. And that was reminding me of what Bob Proctor used to talk about. When somebody gave an objection about, well, I don't have the money. And, you know, the question he would say was, well, how much money do we need? Let's just go ahead and put that at the top of the page. What do we actually need to get Unique in business started? Let's put a number, whatever it is, or time, or whatever it is. Whatever the objection is, let's put that at the top of the page. Let's divide the page into two, the left-hand side, the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, let's go ahead and start coming up with all the reasons or all the ways which we can solve the problem at the top. Even if this might be a little bit uncomfortable, let's just go ahead. Parents, we can ask the parents for money. Second mortgage, get another credit card, and you just start listing all these things. And whenever somebody would come up with objection to one of your ideas, like asking parents, oh no, I couldn't ask. Well, yeah, you can, so we're just going to put it there. What you're telling me is what you can't. We're not going to talk about what you can. We'll get to that. And so you start listing down the left-hand side all those things and all those ways that you could possibly solve the problem of I don't have the money or I don't have the time, whatever their objection might be. Now, then when you're finished, we've exhausted that exercise. We say, okay, let's go ahead and start listing all the reasons why we can't. But before we go ahead and do that, could I ask you, no matter what we put on the right-hand side, no matter what it is, would you agree that whatever we put on the right-hand side is not going to help us get what we need, the money or the time to do this? Would you agree with that? And they would say, yeah, I guess that's true. Okay, well, then let's just go ahead and put a big X right through this side and not waste any time thinking about it. And so it's a real helpful tool because you're really helping people understand in principle that it's wasted effort, wasted energy to justify or to even contemplate or think about things that don't help us go in the direction that we want to go. It's just meaningless chatter. But we're in such a habit of doing that. Society at large is in such a habit of not being thinking. I think it was breakfast or what it was last night. I think maybe it was dinner with Michelle and Shirley, who's on the call here tonight, and Jeff Isom. I can't remember. I think it was maybe Jeff who said, somebody said, we're just simply not in the habit of thinking. And most people are in the habit of reacting all day long. They're reacting to something. In fact, even when they're on their phone, they're not thinking, they're just reacting. What is somebody saying about me? What am I going to say about them? Like so, It's not thinking, it's just reacting. So most people spend most of their time in reaction mode and not actually thinking, not actually contemplating. Definitely not thinking about the things that move them in the direction that they want to go, and being more than susceptible, even gullible, to entertaining ideas that will keep them from what they want. A lot of bad news on TV and so forth. Politics will make your head spin. And it's just a really good way to entertain yourself, but it's a waste of time and money and life. And you got to think about it. How many seconds in the day do you have? How many days in the year do you have? And how many years on planet Earth do you have? Do you really want to spend that time wasting it, entertaining it with just nonsense, rubbish that other people find fascinating because they're in the habit of being fascinated rather than thinking? So I call upon you to be better than the average person. I call upon you to be humans being more. And most of you have been to humans being more in your Nikan career, maybe more than once. I'm calling on you to remind yourself, maybe go out and find that little book that you filled in, or take a look at that life cycle plan that you built last, pull it out, brush off the dust, and start saying to yourself, okay, this is who I am. I'm a creative being. I'm creating this thing, and I need to be more proactive about it. I need to be more aware of it, more conscious of it. And by the way, this comes to my last point, and then we'll just do some Q&A. This is about posturing. Michelle, you raised your hand.
Could I make a comment?
You bet.
When you're talking about thinking, I've been mentoring with a fellow on Maggie's group, and he has this saying called about the gapability, and it's the gap between what we see and what we hear and when we react. And quite often we react so fast, there's no gap. Now, if we just pause and think, here's the thinking coming in. That's the gapability. How long are you pausing to think before you react?
That's a great point. And it's in that space that you can be proactive, right? Isn't that, I guess, the goal?
Absolutely. You're thinking before the words are coming out. So you're going to, be proactive, but you're going to be also a lot more, you're going to be a lot calmer. It's going to be more reasonable conversation. And I think the other person on the other side is going to gain more respect for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for that, Michelle. We had a great weekend. Wouldn't you say we had a great weekend this weekend? Very productive too.
Very, very amazing weekend.
Excellent. Well, I was recently working with one of my young guns in San Francisco, and we've been texting back and forth as he's been on a rage, on a tear, launching his business, his career in a way like never before. Even though he's been involved in Nikan for some time, he gave up his full-time job when they offered him a promotion and said, I'm out of this. I'm out of the matrix, as he puts it. And so he asked me to help him craft a few things, one of which was his invitation to meet with somebody. I'm looking for, here it is. Okay. So we came up with two. One's a text script that he would send to somebody to sit down with them. I'll just read it to you. Just made a big career decision, breaking out of the matrix, turned down a promotion, left my cush corporate career for something bigger and more important. We need to meet. Coffee? ? Pretty cool. That's posturing. Posturing is, I'm doing something big. I'm moving ahead. I'm out of the matrix. We need to meet. Not would you like to meet, or I would like to meet you. It's we need to meet. Coffee? I'll give you the phone script. I just made a big career decision, turned down a promotion, left a cushy corporate career to break out of the matrix for something bigger, more important. Name, as in blank. I'm calling you because blank, value relationship, admire you, all the stuff that we talk about in the contact invite script. I know you like helping people and wouldn't mind making some money. Well, I believe I found a way to get us that time, money, freedom we're looking for while making a meaningful impact in the lives of many people and I'd like your help. Perhaps even consider partnering with me. Blank as in name. Not sure if this is for you. Remember, that's a very important one. But I want you at least to know what I know. And if you can't help me directly, you can help me indirectly. You may know someone I should be speaking with next. Fair enough? Wait for the response. Okay, either way, we need to meet. How's Tuesday at noon or Wednesday at 2? So now he's been utilizing this with success. But some of the things that come up are people on the phone trying to get more information on the phone other than what he's offering so that they can assess the opportunity or assess the situation. And I'm like, no, that's not okay. You are leveraging your relationship with this person. You're saying, I need to sit down with you. So, and he's been using that, I'd be trying to give you a haircut. I can't do that over the phone. We need to meet. Anyway, when he said what he said, that they're still pressing the matter, that's when I thought about it. And I said, let me just see what I got here. There's tremendous power in saying no first. By saying, if my time and my word is not considered equally valuable, I may have you figured wrong. This is probably not for you. And I said to him, next time around, they'll be a lot more respectful. And it's this fear that we have that every conversation has to go a certain way. What if you were the one who said no first? Just think about that for a second. What if you were the one who said no first? You said, you know what? On second thought, maybe this isn't for you. You just laid it on the table. You just told this person why you respect and admire them. You just said that you've come across something that you're totally convicted about and moving forward on, and you'd like their help. That's all you're asking for is help. And here they are grilling you, trying to find out whether or not it's worth their time to sit down with you to have a coffee. Like you don't know what you're doing. Like your time is worth less than theirs somehow. You're the one with the goods, my friends, not them. You're the one with the goods. So what's wrong with saying no first? They start challenging you. I say, wait a time out here. I want to remind you I called you for your help. And I would appreciate your opinion, but that's after the fact. And the point of us getting together is so that I could give you the insights and the information that I need you to have so we can come to that realization. My time is very important. If it's a no from you, it's a no from me. So I think it's really important that we learn to posture a little bit more confidently that what we have is of value, of tremendous value. And if they take or attempt to take control of the conversation so that they can gain more information from you. And a couple of things came up. For instance, he said, well, he looked up the website. I said, website? How did he even know there was a website to look up? When did the word Niken ever come into this conversation? That should never have happened. The only time that should have come up is when you were sitting in front of him after you did a demonstration. So I find that even though the training that I give, the instructions that I've given, especially in the contact and invite, even though I've given it, even though I've repeated it, people don't adhere to it. And you will not get the same results if you don't adhere to it. It's very specific for a reason, and it's perfected. As far as I'm concerned, there is not a better script out there. Even Eric Worre would probably agree. There is not a better script out there. So I want to encourage you to have a little more posture. Recognize that you got the goods. And your time is just as valuable, if not more, because you're learning how to leverage time, than anybody's time. And when you come at it from that posturing, then you're not so susceptible to yielding to frivolous demands from people who aren't giving 1 second of attention to the matter, who aren't really thinking, or maybe didn't even hear the fact that you've paid them great respect and honor them by inviting them to sit down with you because you're asking them to share your time. I think it's just really important we understand the value of our time. We are not trading time for money here. And what we're doing is creating a movement that could have a lifespan well beyond us. You know, there are some people who've passed away in Nikan who still have beneficiaries benefiting from the business they've built. I think it's important to recognize the value of what we've got here. I also want to make a prediction. I know a little bit more than most of you because I have the privilege that I have of being able to be in some conversations that not everyone gets to have. And I am very convinced that this is a very, very important year for us. I think that there are things that are happening and about to happen that are telling of how valuable our situation is and you as a resource. So see yourself as people who can influence a generation. And I'm serious about that. See yourself as people who can influence a generation, influence a situation. And I don't need to remind you, I think Dave Johnson recently posted the graph, the exponential curve on the incidence rate of autism happening in North America. And the fact that we're at a point where the trajectory is by 2025, which is how many years away? Not even 7 years away. There'll be 1 in 2 kids being born autistic. Now think about that. How can half the population serve the other half in that kind of a situation? It's inconceivable that society would survive this. And that's a real statistic. I don't know if nuclear war with North Korea is even realistic or plausible. It's just, people saber rattling. I think what's real and what's really happening is not what people might think is happening, but what's actually statistically being shown is we've got a health crisis on a scale that's never been seen before. And who is going to influence the situation? It's people like us. That's where it's coming from. It's not coming from the top down. It's not coming from governments. It's not coming from the medical industry. It's coming from people like us who are thinking, who have embraced an idea and collaborated with other thinkers and are acknowledging that there is a real problem and that we have a real solution. So with that in mind, when I ask you to posture, I'm asking you to say, we need to get some help. And the first swing at the cat, the cat might just swing back because they're not thinking. It's just a reaction. So stick with it. Posture. Know that you've got the goods. Know that we need to influence the situation and we need the help of influencers who, if they're any good, really, if they're the kind of person who would add value to your company, they're busy. They're already busy. But they're busy doing what they think is valuable. That's what they're busy doing. How would they know if they wouldn't be busy at this because they perceive this as more valuable? How would they know if they've not evaluated it? And so I want to leave you with this question to ask them. Question is, what would this have to be? Let me just read it there. It's never about having the time. It's only ever about how we prioritize our time or what we consider worth our time. So what would this have to offer you to be worth your time? What if you asked that question of somebody? What would this have to be worth your time? What would this have to offer you to be worth your time? That's a pretty important question because now you're asking them to place a value on their time. You're asking them to think. And then now you have them thinking. They might actually say something intelligent, and then you can respond to that. So just some FYI, some stuff that came my way over the course of this week that I thought I've got to share this idea of posturing with the group. The idea that they may be underselling themselves and their time and the value of their time because they're still equating time to money and not value. the value of what it is we're doing, the value of how we can influence the future of a generation. That's valuable. Shirley, I'm going to call on you for a second here. Would you mind unmuting?
Okay.
Tell us if there was a realization you had as a result of this HBM. I don't know how many you've been to, but
Quite a few.
was there anything special about this one where your personal perspective's concerned? And certainly in relation to what we're talking about here.
Yes, there was. I came to the realization that I was not valuing my contribution. I did not feel that my contribution had value. So therefore, I don't talk. I don't say things because I didn't feel that anybody cared and wanted to hear what I had to say. So that was kind of rather up. I mean, it hit me as I was having my shower yesterday morning before going back for the second day. And I debated whether I was going to say anything, tell anybody, or just say, yeah, okay, that's the way I feel and that's the way it is. But just I had a great partner. I had a great experience. I was not in a good headspace going into this HBM, and I came out in a totally different headspace. I think it's probably the top HBM that has had any impact in my life.
Wow. Well, we're happy you were there because now you can help us influence the situation.
Okay.
And you just did. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else feel like jumping in on this in a few minutes that we have?
That was a dynamite testimonial, Shirley. Thanks for sharing.
Mike, I think what I'm hearing, we spend so much time on customers and products. That's what everybody wants to know about. And what I heard tonight more clearly is the targeted prospecting for the one that you know could add value. And you said, they're busy. And they've probably always been our chicken list people, because how do you handle that? So the explanation, I've been one that's been fussing on 2/3 of the new PowerPoint, being more business than on the products. And we've spent so much time explaining these blessed products, they work. And so it really is, which I think you were very specific about tonight, is really the value and the great need as to why. And so it was a good aha for me that we need to spend that amount of time for those, or continuing to invite a Shirley that's going to have a major aha. I mean, all of us, where is our head stage? Where is our headspace right now? And what is it going to take to get us to move through that? Because the people that are here are the people that really want to be here. We've been here for a long time. And so I want to thank you. And Shirley, I really want to thank you. That was very, very brave for someone who didn't feel that. I mean, I would just say, for you saying that you didn't feel like you had anything worth offering. I mean, to this audience, you are very brave, and I just applaud you.
Thanks, Madeline. Anyone else?
Mike, I've discovered something dealing with somebody with where we have a language challenge. English-speaking people always ask, how does something work? And my pat response has been, I have no idea. I'm not a scientist. I don't need to know how they work. They just do. But where the language is not part of my strength, the demonstrations say it all. I don't have to say anything. I did several meetings in Toronto yesterday, and I did the initial demonstration, and then I got the attendees to do it on each other. I didn't have to say a thing, not a thing.
Well, that's called demonstrating value. And
well, sometimes you learn something when you can't communicate what you think properly. You find another way to do it. And I discovered fewer words and more demos.
And more demonstrating value of successful businesses. So that we have our own story and don't just have to rely on you.
And I think if you add the dimension of the value that you add, if you walk away from this call and ask yourself, okay, I have a company. Let's just make the assumption you've already named it something. And you, as the CEO, bring value to that company because you have specialized knowledge. You have very specialized knowledge. Number one, you have very specialized knowledge in the field of wellness. You have you know things. You know stuff about wellness that most people don't know. You know about trends. You've been taught about all these things. And that's one. Number two, and you're plugged into a network of wellness practitioners and people who have been in the wellness movement, who are the experts. Even though I may not have a white jacket and a thing on my wall that says I know something about what I'm talking about, I know what I'm talking about as good as the next person. So I'm one of the best wellness practitioners out there right now. And I think we need to recognize that about ourselves, that's where wellness is being born. That's how wellness is being influenced. That's how wellness has become an industry. It has come from people like you and me who took an interest in self-care for ourselves and for others. And to whatever degree we've been able to influence the situation, we are. And we have been. And I think that's really something, if there's nobody out there saying, oh, God bless you, let's give you all these accolades and let's put some things on your wall so that people can walk into your home office and know that you're an expert. We don't have that maybe yet. But that doesn't take away from the fact that we are who we are. We're wellness practitioners, we're wellness educators, we're wellness experts, and we have access to some of the best information. And I forgot what my third point was going to be, but the fact that we are bringing this value to the world is immensely valuable, important, urgent, and we need to demonstrate that. We just need to own it. We need to let ourselves know. So take stock of it. If you get off this call tonight, don't just let this idea pass by as, oh, that was an interesting call, and you're off to the next problem to solve. Sit on this, contemplate this. You are bringing value to the situation for who you are and for the interest that you've taken in the subject and in the interest of others, for the sake of others and for the sake of our future. You know, I think that's very noble. I think that's worthy of attention. I think that's worthy of conversation. And on the merits of that, you can attract people to this idea. Because you're not alone, and I think that's really understated so often that we really need to step it up a little bit in terms of self-respect and self-acknowledgement for what we're doing. We are making a difference, and we want to make it with a greater impression, with a greater impact. This is our year, guys. This is it. 2018. It's not 2019, and it wasn't 2017 to the degree that I thought it might have been. So I've usually been 2 to 3, and if I track my own history, I'm usually 2 to 3 years ahead of myself. So I know this is on course. I just know it in my bones. We're on course. Yes, Barb.
She's still blocked.
Wait. Let me unmute you. Go ahead.
I think one of the most powerful statements you made tonight that we can all use, I know it's something that I will certainly consider using, is, if my time and my worth does not seem to have value enough for us to meet, on second thought, this probably isn't for you. So when you take something away from them, the curiosity tends to build and you can get that meeting.
It's
the verbiage. It's the verbiage.
I think so. And I think what happens is it gives you a sense of self-worth that you need to remind yourself of. I'm looking for this note here because the comment that came back from my guy was he was just having a blast because he was doing this. He was starting to take away from from some of the people, and he's saying, I'm having a blast at this. So it gave him a sense of self-worth that he wasn't having.
And self-confidence with each
And
success.
Self-confidence.
And power.
Yeah. Oh,
Like
here it is.
before-
I'm in action and it feels incredible. Texting folks today, decent amount of pushback from the get-go, but fielding their objection and pulling the offer off the table not only feels good, but I can tell it's making them more and more curious. This is fun. That's my point.
That's really great. Before we leave, Carol, I mentioned earlier where it says R.A. Lice. Jeannie, you need to tilt it up so we can see your face for a moment. Stashik has been an executive with me for almost the whole 20 years. She was a Proctor 3% Club, whatever, and Laurel Langemeyer, and that's how she met Carol, this business owner in Georgia. So Jeannie's here in Ohio. So Jeannie was one of those that just stayed on, never missed a month with nutritionals, but kind of didn't stay active, and met Carol at one of, and so that's how she met her. And so tonight we're reactivating. So I want to welcome them, and it couldn't be better timing, Jeannie, for you to hear this content tonight. So those little seeds in that one slide that we never know when they're going to pop up again.
Fantastic.
And sure, there's a lot of other people on here like us that have been around for a while. So staying in touch with those special loyal people that have been through Humans Being More and a lot of training. And now 2018, Jeannie and Carol, we welcome you to continue your rediscovery and discovery process. So this is the kind of learning community that we have that is so wonderful. And I want to thank you, Michael, for your leadership, and everybody that's here, and the both of you for coming on tonight.
Thanks, Madeline. Thanks for inviting our new guests. And I want to remind everyone that this is an open call. The purpose of this call is to create a community where we can have these kind of conversations and share in our knowledge. So I'll do my best, although I seem to fail every time, to talk less and listen more, maybe just to host or facilitate a call, but I just had some stuff that I need to get off my chest because I thought it was quite pertinent that we needed to make that switch in our minds of our understanding of the value that we're adding, because that is a precious commodity. Time we only have so much of, but the value that we have is the influence that we create, and that can go beyond our time while we're on this planet and even beyond us when we're not. So just don't ever underestimate the power of what one person can do by influencing a few others. That's our job. That's what we do. So I want to say thank you for being on our call tonight. Contemplate this message and see how that applies to you. Maybe write something down. I find that when you write things down, thoughts that you have, they seem to get further into the subconscious mind and become something you own when you turn a thought into something written. So
you also tend to look back on your notes. You know that there was something,
yeah,
but you couldn't pull it up immediately. And if you're taking notes, you get to it.
Yeah, in fact, that's what I was doing. I was making notes at my HBM on the back page saying, oh, I got to talk about this. And there was one other note that I had, and that was joy, the feeling of attraction. So what would you feel if you were really on point, if you were really living your purpose, if you were really that person in your body, in your skin, maxed out, fully being you, like fully alive, fully centered in who you are, knowing that you have value and offering the world value just because you simply are here, never mind what you have to share.
Exhilarated.
You feel joy. Joy is that feeling. And so I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, you know what? That is the law of attraction. When you move into the vibration, the right vibration, we talk about you have to have a high. And I did this A line, B line, C line on the call the other day, the decision call, and I talked about how do you feel when you're like really going after what you want. It's a very high state of vibration, and in that high state of vibration, you're a powerful magnet. You are so attractive. So what is that feeling? What does it feel like? It's joy. It's the feeling of joyfulness. And when you're in that feeling, because you're connected to your sense of self and sense of purpose, people can't help but listen to what you have to say. They don't even know what you're talking about. They just want to see, what is this guy talking about? What is this person talking about? Whatever it is they're on, I want some of it. And it's that vibe of being in a state of joy. So let's do it. Let's just be it. What else is there? Everything else is kind of a waste of time, it seems. So I'll leave you with that thought. Thanks for joining tonight. Have a great night. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. Cheers.
Thanks, Mike.